January. Starting the year rather on the back foot? The sun will invite you to take a step back regarding the year gone by to learn lessons from the past and make sure you don't make the same mistakes in 2015. However, you will need to avoid ruminating and chewing things over at the very beginning of the month, or you could potentially be aggressive with everyone. Better to make use of your amazing charms on the 13th and 14th to turn opinion round to your advantage and rally support. Please don't abuse your powers by being over-demanding, or you could be turned down point blank on the 15th, when your ambitions will come up against reality, which will slow things down a little. You will end the month feeling rather frustrated, on the 30th, on all fronts and be tempted to throw in the towel. But don't even think about it. Advice for this month. A wintry month when you would do well to hibernate, while you wait for an improvement in morale and the atmosphere to warm up. February. The sun is going to illuminate your sign until the 18th and give you back the reins of your destiny. You will tackle this month on your own little cloud, on the 1st, borne along by an ideal and appealing prospects materially and in your love life, which will be inspiring and where communication will flow, on the 2nd. This could then somewhat deteriorate if you try to impose your opinions without taking your other half or others into account, on the 6th, or if you are too demanding on the finance front, while the budget allocated for setting up important projects will be limited for the moment. Advice for this month. A start to the month when you will feel all aflame, which could urge you to take off from reality, and this could make you end the year feeling somewhat bereft. To satisfy your immense appetites, you're going to need to wait and understand that you can't have everything straight away. March. A fiery end to the winter to keep you more or less dancing on hot coals, especially around the 17th when the square aspect between Pluto and Uranus will create sparks and probably expose you to a crisis that you will need to tackle with the greatest awareness, to end a period of uncertainty, doubts and potential torment. This began in June 2012 and has certainly disrupted your exchanges with your partners and those you have had to deal with. Repressed fears tending to sabotage your mutual exchanges. The repetition of traumatizing experiences that you have more or less provoked yourself subconsciously. It will be time to draw a line under the past and set off along the road to success without any further doubts. The end of the month will seem to want to calm people down and lead to sensible decisions for everyone. Advice for this month. A start to the month offering you, those born in the second decan especially, some wonderful opportunities to take off, on the 3rd, but it will back you into a corner between the 11th and 17th. Try to pull things off successfully without falling into the trap self-centeredness, which won't necessarily offer you good advice. In March, you will need to act with awareness and carefully avoid making last-minute decisions. April. Don't just throw everything off at the beginning of the month. Exchanges with others will be tense and you will fall into all kinds of misjudgments and misunderstandings. Be careful not to intervene where negotiations are concerned between the 5th and the 8th, when you would only poison your relations with those around you. Be equally careful, around the 18th, of adding fuel to the fire within the family, or you could come up against a partner whose displeasure will be quite obvious. Unless it's you doing the criticizing and unleashing hostilities. The end of the month will look more pleasant for your love life, but also in your partnerships, which will be very promising. An ideal within your grasp, romance in sight and an infatuation to savor unreservedly and delightfully. Advice for this month. You will definitely have to hold back from impulsive reactions in 2015, to make the very best of the cosmic influences that could influence your life on all fronts, provided you accept the need to find a way round things, rather than take up systematic opposition. May. Tempers will be frayed on the family front, when conflicts of interest will set you and your other half against each other. Unless you are too bogged down keeping things running smoothly and are physically or mentally exhausted. At work, You will also have to take budget restrictions into account, those born in the first decan, and these will somewhat limit your margins for maneuver, frustrate your creative flair and irritate you to high heaven. However, you will need to tone things down, in order to move on through these awkward phases and avoid clashes, around the 15th. The second half of the month will be in keeping with this. No way you can do as you please, this May, but you will need to be able to tolerate the altercations, preferably without complaint, if you don't want to poison the atmosphere. Advice for this month. A nice month, May? Not really. Between pressure from the family and at work, you will end this period feeling rather disillusioned. To keep up your health and morale, let things go and don't take things too seriously. You aren't the center of the world. June. At last, a month that will allow you to express your creative flair and live your love life without any snags. You will effectively benefit from prevailing currents which should largely contribute to your promotion prospects, but also favor your love life, and in some cases, eager commitment. This will be the time to rekindle the flame, or kindle it in the first place, and go in search of your soulmate. If you haven't done so already, take action and bring things to a conclusion. Your life is going to be in tune with an exceptional cosmic harmony, created by a hugely promising June on all fronts. Keep your eyes and your heart open all the time, especially around the 5th, 8th, 9th, 22nd and 29th, when anything could happen and whatever does will be for the best. Advice for this month. Don't turn your back on pleasure, but seize things as they happen. There will be opportunities for pleasant partnerships on all fronts, love affairs and a radiant mood, which should do wonders for your morale. July. You will have your work cut out, and given that you will have to go on holiday this month, you may find it difficult to let go completely. You will begin July in the same way as last month, that is more or less floating somewhere between heaven and earth, and in some cases even heading for nirvana, until the 5th, and especially on the 1st. You will get married, form partnerships and make commitments in one way or another, but it will certainly bring you great pleasure. The atmosphere will be a little cooler from the 6th, when your fears will increase and make you worry whether you are up to the task you have been given. Be careful that constantly chewing the cud doesn't end up undermining you in terms of both morale and health. If some of your hopes are dashed, those born in the first decan, don't use this as an excuse for chewing over your unfortunate experiences and getting caught up in a vicious circle. Advice for this month. You will be floating on air at the beginning of the month, but will soon be caught up in an everyday life that will give you motivation and plans that won't be going quickly enough for your tastes. Again, it needs to be said, you aren't the master of the world and not everything depends on you. So, to get away from the stress, be proactive in your own life and let others handle the rest. August. Those born in the third decan, especially after the 15th, will have business with Saturn, who will present them with a challenge at work and could put their work and position into question, on the 3rd. Avoid arguments with those above you, if you want to save your own skin and move smoothly through this awkward phase. On the other hand, if you think the time has come to put an end to a cycle that has kept you under pressure for too long, you will be tempted to set off and will then have to wait until the end of November to have any hope of bouncing back. The second half of the month looks more summery and you will have more opportunities for rest. Whether on the beach or between the sheets, don't say no to the attentions of an ardent, not to say effervescent partner, on the 13th and 19th for those born in the second decan, on the 26th for those born in the first, who will voluptuously sign up to a hot, steamy summer. Advice for this month. Those born in the third decan will be backed into a corner this month and forced to move on a stage. To make sure you don't make mistakes, make sure you carefully evaluate your motives, to determine whether you can continue or not along your path. And other Aquarians? It will be summer for them. September. Jupiter has been favoring returns on your investments since mid-August and could enable you to reap the fruits of your past labors. While waiting for this miracle from heaven or well-earned rewards, keep your feet on the ground to avoid being carried away by your dreams. On the 17th, focus on your combative energy to rally support, boost your partners and score points on all fronts. Those born in the first decan should avoid making demands at the very end of the month, if you don't want to be up against a brick wall. On the 26th, advice for this month. A month for dreaming, but don't overdo it. For being persuasive without pushing things too far and winning people over, without abusing your power. In short, a month for getting your message across smoothly. October. Doubts about everything and yourself in particular at the beginning of the month. You can be reassured that the atmosphere will change completely from the 10th, when you could hit the jackpot or at least get a well-earned reward, rent, a bonus or royalties. A second half of the month then that should reconcile you with yourself and end things on a high note, and in some cases a sensual one. To be savored without reserve and without complications. Advice for this month. You will complain up until the 11th and then rejoice. The Sun's presence in Libra until the 23rd will reset the balance. You will benefit from the solar rays to brighten up those shadowy areas and make everything wonderful. November. You will be propelled onto the center stage, but at the same time forced to face challenges at work. Basically, you won't complain in November, when you will be enjoying renewed popularity and will prefer to savor your success rather than say no to pleasure, at least during the first half of the month, as the tone and atmosphere will change. This will be especially the case for those born in the first decan, who probably won't much appreciate being constantly held back in their ambitions and forced to go with the flow, when they would envisage forging ahead. Be careful, however, not to get carried away by your dreams or build up your hopes, which could be dashed at the end of the month, especially between the 26th and 30th, when you will have only one desire, to hand in your notice. Advice for this month. Those born in the first decan will be feeling despondent. To avoid depression and deal with potential frustration, take the time to live, rather than burying yourself in your work, and take a step back on all fronts to sort out the things that need it. December. Your plans will be at the center of your concerns this month, and you will be determined to achieve your ambitions and maybe bring an exciting idea to fruition. Be careful, however, to get the measure of a hidden adversary, who will be lying in wait, on the 6th. Unless you are once again your own worst enemy in stirring up the fears and doubts that have so often held you back and sabotaged your potential advancement. You will, however, know how to get your message across and stand out from the crowd with your originality, which will really make a difference. So please, stop torturing yourself to no avail. Learn to trust others and let go, in order to lay down your success for the long term, without constantly bringing things to a halt with your black thoughts. Fortunately, from Christmas onwards, you will stop chewing things over and casting shadows over the picture, enabling yourself to appreciate and enjoy the festive period. This will take you up to the end of the year and the beginning of the next one, when you will be able to savor sensuality, quivering with pleasure. Happy New Year. Advice for this month. An end to a year that will be full of contrasts. Between overcoming your doubts and complexities, and ending the final week on a high note, try to look forward to the good things, by shutting your mind to its own tricks, which aren't funny at all.